You activated your rice jar. Here's why money still isn't flowing. Part 1. The confusion most people don't talk about. You followed the steps, you cleaned the jar, you added fresh rice, you placed the coin, and yet nothing changed. Money didn't disappear, but it didn't move either. No improvement, no relief, no sense of momentum. This is the moment where most people quietly stop believing, not only in Feng Shui, but in themselves. They assume, maybe this doesn't work for me. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I'm just unlucky with money. But the truth is far more subtle and far more important. Because in classical Feng Shui, activation is not a single action. It is a process of alignment. And modern psychology agrees. Behavior without meaning does not change outcomes. Tonight, we're going to uncover why money often remains stuck even after activation, and how ancient Feng Shui masters already understood this pattern long before neuroscience gave it a name. Stay with me, because this is not about fixing the jar, it's about fixing what the jar is responding to. Part 2. Why activation is not the same as movement. In Feng Shui, activation does not mean doing something once. Guo Pu taught that qi responds to direction, intention, and continuity, not isolated gestures. Yang Yun Song warned that when form is awakened without movement, fate remains unchanged. In simple terms, you can activate energy, but if your life remains paused, energy has nowhere to go. Modern cognitive behavioral psychology explains this through behavioral loops. If your daily actions, decisions, and emotional responses remain the same, the brain interprets any ritual as symbolic, not real. This is why money may feel present but unreachable, close but unstable, visible but unsustainable. The rice jar did its part, but it activated potential, not flow, and potential without movement becomes pressure.
Part 3. The psychology of stillness that blocks flow. In CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, this is known as emotional anchoring. Emotional anchoring happens when the brain associates safety with staying where it is, even if that place is uncomfortable. You are not lazy. You are not undisciplined. Your nervous system has simply learned that movement feels risky. When that happens, the brain prioritizes preservation over expansion, stability over opportunity, avoidance over action. Now, here is the key connection Feng Shui understood centuries ago. Qi mirrors emotional posture. If the mind is holding, qi holds. If the mind delays, qi suspends. If the mind waits, money waits. This is why people can do everything right and still feel financially frozen. The rice jar activated awareness, but awareness alone does not dissolve hesitation.
Part 4. What the rice jar is actually designed to do. The rice jar is not a magnet. It is a mirror. In classical Feng Shui, rice represents nourishment, continuity, survival security, long-term provision. When you activate the rice jar, you are telling the subconscious, I am safe enough to think beyond survival. That's powerful, but also destabilizing, because once survival fear loosens, the mind must choose movement or retreat. If movement does not follow, the brain retightens control. This is why Feng Shui masters always paired activation with timing and response. Activation opens the door. Response determines whether qi enters or leaves. Part 5. Why money flow requires a second signal. Here is what most videos never explain. Money does not respond to intention alone. It responds to readiness. Readiness is not motivation. It is emotional permission. Yang Yun Song emphasized that Wealth approaches when resistance softens, not when desire intensifies. Modern psychology confirms this. The brain's reticular activating system filters opportunities based on perceived readiness, not desire. If your internal dialogue still says, "I'm not ready yet. Let me stabilize first. I'll deal with this later," then the signal sent to the environment is pause. The rice jar cannot override this signal. It can only amplify what already exists.
Part 6. The real reason money feels stuck. Money rarely gets blocked. It gets delayed. Delayed by postponed decisions, unresolved environments, emotional clutter, unfinished intentions. Gopu described this as suspended chi. Suspended chi does not move forward or backward. It accumulates weight, and weight creates fatigue. This is why people feel tired around money, not excited, not because they lack opportunity, but because too much remains unresolved.
Part 7. The activation most people never complete. True activation has 3 stages. Form, the rice jar. Intention, the conscious signal. Response, the behavioral shift. Most people stop at stage 2. They activate the object, but keep their life unchanged. Feng Shui was never about decoration. It was about interaction. Modern CBT says the same. Identity changes when action confirms belief. Without response, belief collapses.
Part 8. A simple example of real activation. Here is what activation actually looks like in practice. After activating the rice jar, you resolve one delayed decision within 48 hours. Not a dramatic one. A postponed call, an ignored document, a financial task you've been avoiding. This single act tells the nervous system, I move when clarity appears. That movement unlocks flow, not because of magic, but because the brain exits holding mode. Qi follows. Part 9. Why cleaning and removal matter before flow. In Feng Shui, Qi responds to usefulness, integrity, vitality. Broken, unused, or postponed objects anchor suspended energy. Psychologically, they reinforce, I tolerate incompletion. This directly conditions financial behavior. Small leaks are ignored. Delays feel normal. Momentum feels unsafe. Cleaning is not about aesthetics, it is behavioral reprogramming. That's why cleansing always precedes activation. Supplement. Why cleaning must extend beyond one object. In Feng Shui, Qi does not respect compartments. It does not flow only in one corner, one ritual, or one object. Qi moves as a continuous field, and it follows the path of least resistance. That means cleaning a single symbol, like the rice jar, while the rest of the home remains cluttered, cracked, or emotionally heavy, creates energetic contradiction. Guo Pu taught that when one room is clear, but the house is not, Qi hesitates. From a psychological perspective, this makes sense. The subconscious mind does not register change through isolated actions. It registers change through environmental consistency. That's why real cleansing begins with the entire space, not the ritual object. What cleansing the house actually means, not mystical. This is not superstition. It is environmental reset. Cleansing means cleaning floors and surfaces so stagnation is physically removed. Using water intentionally, traditionally water with vinegar or salt, to signal renewal and neutrality. Removing cracked, broken, or chipped objects that symbolize unresolved states. Letting go of items kept only for someday.
relocating photos of deceased people away from wealth and activation areas. Clearing furniture surfaces so nothing feels buried or pressed down. In Feng Shui terms, this restores integrity and vitality. In psychological terms, it tells the brain resolution is safe, completion is allowed. Why this step changes financial behavior? When the environment is cleansed consistently, three things happen. The nervous system relaxes. There is less subconscious scanning for unfinished business. Decision fatigue decreases. The mind no longer rehearses what has been postponed. Momentum feels safer because nothing in the environment is silently pulling attention backward. This is why people often notice financial clarity before financial gain. Money responds to clarity faster than it responds to desire. Why cleansing always comes before activation. Activation amplifies what already exists. If the environment holds grief, postponement, fracture, stagnation, activation amplifies that too. That is why every classical Feng Shui system insists clean first, activate second. Not because qi is fragile, but because the mind must feel complete before it allows expansion. Part 10. What happens when flow begins? When flow activates, people often notice mental clarity, reduced financial anxiety, better timing, calmer decisions, unexpected opportunities. Not miracles, alignment. Money stops feeling heavy. It feels manageable.
Final. The rice jar did its job. If money still isn't flowing, it does not mean the ritual failed. It means the next step is required. The rice jar awakened awareness. Now movement completes the circuit. Feng Shui never promised instant wealth. It promised aligned prosperity. And alignment always begins inside, then moves outward. This is where flow starts.